All right, so ready for this? Today, we're going deep, really deep, into, you guessed it, Bank of America.
Bank of America?
Yeah, a name we see, like every day.
Yeah.
But I'm betting most people don't know the half of it.
Probably not.
We're talking like a daring escape from a burning city.
Oh, wow.
A real Clash of Titans high finance style.
Sounds intense.
Oh, and a guy who basically flipped the script on how banking even worked.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where are we getting all this from?
This YouTube documentary transcript, it's wild, honestly. Reads like a financial thriller, almost.
So this deep dive, it's not just about numbers then?
Not even close. It's about ambition.
Right.
About resilience. It's about how one person, just one, can shake up these massive systems.
I like it. The power of the individual.
Exactly. And the individual we're talking about, Amedeo Gianni, Bank of America, that's his baby. But his life, it's like straight out of those rags to riches stories, but with some twists and turns you wouldn't believe.
I'm always fascinated by those post-traumatic growth stories.
Oh, Giannini's like the poster child for that. Challenges. He faced them down from day one, starting with, well, losing his dad, tragically.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, his dad, Italian immigrant, had actually made it, achieved the American dream. During the gold rush, no less. Built a whole real estate empire. Passed that entrepreneurial spirit right on down to Amedeo. But then, tragedy struck. Labor dispute, things got ugly, and his father was killed. Amedeo was just 7.
7 years old.
Can you imagine having to grow up that fast? Taking on family responsibilities at that age?
It's almost hard to comprehend. Must have shaped him in a powerful way.
No doubt. That experience, it forged his work ethic, gave him this incredible business sense. He was working alongside his mom, selling produce, all while still a kid.
He learned the value of hard work early on then.
Oh, yeah. Get this, by 14.
Yeah.
Managing the family grocery business.
No way.
And we're not talking some small-time operation. He was figuring out how to get oranges all the way from Southern California up to San Francisco.
That's impressive.
The guy was a hustler born and bred. By 21, running the entire business.
Yeah.
Making it a huge success. But then get this, he decides to retire.
Retire? He was only 21.
31, actually, but still, right. Walks away from the grocery world and jumps headfirst into banking.
Banking? That's
Okay.
quite a shift.
I know, you'd think banking, snore.
Yeah.
But Gianni saw something nobody else did. Traditional banks, they were ignoring immigrant communities, especially the Italian community, where he came from.
That's a big oversight.
Huge. So what did he do? Built a bank for the people.
What do you mean by that?
He focused on trust, lending to the working class based on character, not just collateral. Revolutionary back then.
Really turned the traditional banking model on its head.
Completely. And it worked. Bank of Italy. It exploded in popularity. Capital flowing in, customers lining up. But just when things are booming, bam, 1906 San Francisco earthquake hits.
Oh, wow. Devastation.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
But Gianni, he's already thinking about his customers, their money. Loads the bank's cash onto wagons, covers it with produce, and gets it out of the burning city.
Like a scene from a movie.
Right. Banking hero, protecting everyone's money while the city's literally crumbling around him. It wasn't just business. It was taking care of people who trusted him.
That's integrity.
And actions speak louder than words, right? City's still in chaos. What does Gianni do? Sets up a makeshift bank right on the street, offering loans, immediate help to anyone who lost everything.
Wow. That's compassion in action.
Public trust. Oh yeah, that soared after that. Bank of Italy keeps growing, but Gianni's got bigger plans. He sets his sights on New York City, the financial capital of the world. And who does he run into? J.P. Morgan Jr., the heir to the banking dynasty.
Now that's a showdown.
Talk about a clash of titans. Gianni, the outsider, the people's champion, versus Morgan, Mr. Wall Street elite himself.
What happened when these two forces collided?
Well, Morgan, he wasn't too happy about Gianni's success. Felt threatened. So what does he do? Launches a full-on smear campaign. Tried to tank the Bank of Italy's stock value.
That's ruthless.
Cutthroat, even for those days. Yeah. But Giannini, he's not backing down. Creates Transamerica Corporation, a holding company, basically a giant umbrella for all his businesses. Consolidates his power, gets ready to play on a bigger stage.
Smart move.
And it wasn't just about money, right? This was about two completely different ways of thinking about banking. Gianni serving the people. Morgan, the old guard, focused on the elite. And this tension. Oh, it's going to play out in the big way when the Great Depression hits.
Uh-oh. Things are about to get even more interesting.
Okay, so we moved on from Gianni's time, but Bank of America, it's still going strong. Actually, things are about to get, like, really wild. We're hitting the 1970s.
The 70s.
Think social unrest, economic uncertainty, and huge technological shifts that totally changed how banking worked.
Sounds like a turbulent time.
Oh, yeah. People were, questioning everything. Vietnam War protests, the oil crisis. Nobody was trusting big institutions anymore, banks included.
Makes sense.
And right then, boom, a new player enters the game. With this game-changing technology, no less.
What technology? The ATM.
The ATM. Wait, like the automated teller machine?
Yep, that's the one.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine before that, you had to actually go into a bank, talk to a teller every single time you needed cash?
It's hard to imagine now, right? Just sticking your card in a machine, getting your money. Must have felt so weird back then.
Totally. Trusting a machine with your money, that was a huge leap. But one bank saw the potential. Citibank, led by this guy, Walter Wriston. They went all in on ATMs, built this massive network, the biggest electronic funds transfer system in the whole country.
So while other banks were like, whoa, hold on, Citibank was like, let's go.
Exactly. They were the risk takers, and it paid off big time. Suddenly, they're the cool bank, the innovative one, offering convenience nobody else could match.
Putting Bank of America in a tough spot then.
Oh, yeah. They were seen as like the old dinosaurs clinging to those outdated ways.
They did eventually get with the program, rolled out their own ATMs. But it was too late. They were playing catch-up. Citibank had already won the hearts and minds. It's a classic example of how even the biggest companies can fall behind if they don't adapt, especially with technology moving so fast.
I mean, it must have been a huge gamble for Citibank, though, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people just hated using ATMs.
Big risk, big reward, I guess. But they understood, the world was changing, and they were willing to change with it.
So Bank of America's dealing with this tech disruption.
Right.
Right. But they had other problems, too, internally.
Yeah, they'd become a bit, how do I put it, bureaucratic. Slow-moving. And the economy wasn't doing so hot either. Recession, the whole 9 yards.
Not a good time to be playing catch-up.
Definitely not. They were vulnerable on multiple fronts. And guess who saw an opportunity?
Don't tell me. Sandy Weill.
Sandy Weill himself, the guy who tried to take over Bank of America before, he's back. And this time, he set his sights on Citicorp.
So the bank that had, revolutionized things with ATMs, he wanted a piece of that.
He wanted the whole thing. Orchestrated this massive merger, Citicorp and Travelers Group. Boom, Citigroup is born, one of the biggest financial institutions on the planet.
Whoa, that's a power move.
It was. Weill was changing the game, blurring the lines between commercial and investment banking, creating this, financial behemoth.
And that triggered a whole wave of mergers and acquisitions.
Absolutely. Every bank wanted to be the biggest, the most powerful. And it led to the creation of those institutions that were deemed, too big to fail.
Yeah, and we all know how that turned out in 2008.
Right. But before we get to that, we got to talk about Hugh McColl Jr. He takes over Bank of America in '83.
Another big personality.
Oh, yeah. McColl was a force of nature, ambitious, driven. He wanted Bank of America to compete with the big dogs, Citigroup especially. So what does he do? Acquisitions, expansion, the whole deal.
Basically playing the same game as Sandy Weill trying to build a banking empire.
Exactly. He was smart, understood that size mattered in the global market, but he also got the importance of technology, invested heavily in modernizing Bank of America's systems.
Trying to future-proof the company. But then 2008 happened.
2008, the year everything changed.
The financial crisis. A real gut punch.
It was. Bad decisions, risky loans, almost no regulation, a recipe for disaster. And then Lehman Brothers collapsed. The whole financial system started to unravel.
It was a scary time. I remember thinking, is the whole economy going to crash?
It was a real possibility. And even giants like Bank of America, they weren't immune. Remember their acquisition of Countrywide Financial?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
They were a big mortgage lender.
Huge. And it turned out to be a massive mistake. Bank of America was suddenly holding billions in toxic assets.
Toxic assets? What does that even mean?
Think of it like bad loans. Loans that people can't repay. When you have a lot of those, well, it can really hurt a bank.
So Bank of America was in deep trouble.
Deep. And they had to make some tough choices. They ended up buying Merrill Lynch, another huge risk, but they had to do something or Merrill would have gone under, just like Lehman.
So they were trying to save the system, but it cost them a fortune.
It did. And in the end, they needed a bailout from the government to survive.
Wow, a bailout. That's a pretty big fall from grace.
It was a wake-up call, showed just how interconnected everything is, how one bad decision can ripple out and affect everyone.
You led to the CEO, Ken Lewis, stepping down.
Yeah. And a new guy took the helm, Brian Moynihan. In 2010, He was facing, like, an impossible task. Rebuild trust, get the bank back on solid ground, and deal with all these new regulations.
Not overwhelming.
Oh, it was. But Moynihan, he focused on the basics. Customer service, transparency, ethical behavior. He knew they had to change, become more responsible, and he streamlined operations, reduced risk, kept investing in technology.
Trying to create a more, sustainable bank.
Exactly, a bank that could weather the storms. It was a long road back, but eventually they started making a profit again.
So a comeback story.
A big one. And what really sealed the deal? Warren Buffett. He invested $5 billion in Bank of America.
Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha.
A one and only. That investment, it sent a message. Bank of America was back in the game.
Okay, so Bank of America enters the 2020s, still a major player. They've survived earthquakes, depressions, financial crises. What's next for them? We've been through a lot, haven't we? Earthquakes, depressions, the whole 2008 meltdown. Bank of America, it's seen it all.
They have, haven't they? Always managed to come out on the other side, though.
They have. It's pretty impressive.
Okay.
But here we are, right?
Yeah.
2024, what's next for them? What does the future hold for this, giant of finance?
Good question. The world's changing so fast, right? Everything's digital, everything's connected. It's a whole different ballgame from, say, Giannini's day.
Right. I'm looking at my phone, all these banking apps. Back then, it was all about, setting up shop on a street corner after an earthquake?
Times have changed.
Big time. But you know what? Even with all that, Giannini's whole idea, serving everyday people, that still seems pretty important.
Right, totally. Financial inclusion, making sure everyone has access, benefits from all this new tech. It's crucial. We can't leave anyone behind.
It's a big responsibility,
Yeah.
Shaping the future of finance,
Yeah.
making sure it's fair, inclusive for everyone. Can't just be about, profits and algorithms, right?
No way. It's got to be about people, real people's lives.
So what can we do then? I mean, how do we make sure that happens?
Well, we need policies that, promote financial literacy, wider access to credit, responsible lending, making sure people aren't getting trapped in debt. We can't let technology make inequality worse.
Makes sense. But it's not just about policymakers, right? What about us, regular people? Do we have a role to play?
Absolutely. We need to be informed consumers. Ask questions, demand transparency from banks and financial institutions, support businesses that share our values, even advocate for financial education in our own communities. It all adds up.
Thinking back on Gianni, it's inspiring, isn't it? One person challenging the system, fighting for what he believed in, it can make a difference.
It can, and he really did change the whole landscape of banking.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Bank of America, what sticks with you? What are you taking away from all this?
I think it's that balance, innovation and responsibility. Banks have this duty, right? To their customers, to the community, to the whole financial system. But they got to keep innovating, adapting, or they get left behind. Finding that middle ground, that's the key.
It is, isn't it? And not just in banking. I think that applies to, everything.
Oh, for sure. How we use technology, how we run businesses, how we live our lives. It's a constant balancing act.
Well said. And for everyone listening, I hope this deep dive got you thinking about the role of finance in our lives, about the choices we make, the future we want to build. What kind of financial world do we want, right? That's the question I'm left with. And I think it's one worth asking.
I agree. It's been a great conversation, really insightful.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep diving deep.
You got it.